The banking industry's relationship with the fintech startup community continues to evolve. Fintechs are now viewed as potential collaborators rather than competitors, and banks are experimenting with new technologies, including blockchain, to find out how they can help improve efficiencies. But how much is hype? And to what extent can these new technologies help revolutionise transaction services? I'm about to ask Ivar Wiersma, Head of Innovation in Wholesale Banking, to find out. Banks and fintech startups have rather different operating environments and compliance procedures. Does this create any challenges either during the onboarding process or in terms of the ongoing relationship? And how do you manage these challenges?
For us, innovation, also in transaction banking, is really about offering a differentiating client experience. So we believe in combining the best of both worlds, and where we see that fintechs bring to the table a startup mentality, new technology, razor-sharp focus. You see that we, as a large organization, bring to the table very deep client knowledge, client relationships, a global brand and footprint. So we really see the value in combining those two worlds to meet together and bring the best results. And to that end, we've also, for instance, have created a global framework that we can onboard fintechs and work with them within just 4 weeks. So while that still may sound like long, we see that it's actually one of the best practices in the market. And that means working together with compliance, with legal, with onboarding, with HR to make sure that we effectively work together very quickly. And that is obviously where you start learning, where you get to know each other and see what works and what doesn't work.
How can and are fintechs adding value to transaction banking, and in which particular segments?
So obviously there's a lot going on in transaction banking, mainly in the payment space, where we really have seen some fintechs rising. But we also see lots of activity in working capital solutions, supply chain finance, and for instance trade finance. So one of our more recent pieces of work is around electronic letters of credit, also in link with a blockchain consortium that we're in. And then obviously we also have more of our own homegrown innovations that are already in the market, like virtual cash management on the wholesale banking side. But we also have Yolt, which is a payments aggregator currently tested and piloting in the UK. And then Payconic, which is a new way of payments, already rolled out in Belgium and now extending to the Netherlands as well. So definitely a lot of activity in that space.
And what about blockchain? It's obviously a big buzzword, but what can it mean in practice for transaction services and for clients in particular?
We feel that blockchain is really foundational technology, right? So I think that we, just like the internet, for instance, we may see one single or two single use cases for quite a long time. But over time, I'm convinced that it will change the infrastructure of financial services, and that we will also see much newer things that we cannot imagine yet, new business models that ultimately will thrive on this new foundation. Just like we have seen with the internet, right? We were stuck with email for I don't know how long, maybe 7 or 8 years, and maybe even longer actually, before we saw all these new business models rise. So I think currently what we see is that many aspects of blockchain use cases are very focused, which they should be, to bring real added value and move on that path towards production. And many of them are focused on efficiencies. So if you look outside payments in post-trade, trade finance, where we're working on different things. So many of those will maybe not in the beginning be visible to our clients, but they will lead to better security, cost efficiencies. I think the additional use cases and business models that we don't know now will take a bit longer before we see them. But to me that's also linked to the fact that blockchain is now a buzzword and a hype. But when you actually use applications or functionalities that are built on the blockchain and that depend on that technology, as a user, you may not even see it, right?
I know ING is part of the R3 consortium, which is building a distributed ledger platform. What's some of the latest work it's been doing in relation to transaction services?
So one of the things that we're working on now is related to trade finance, open account trade for SMEs and mid-corporates, which I think is very promising. To me, it's an underserved market where we see more transactions happening on open trade. And we feel that the technology can help us to bring more transparency and security to clients and better services in that area. And obviously we've also done work before, and it's continuing in the trade and commodity finance areas, where we're facilitating oil trades and also other commodities on the blockchain.
And thinking about the transaction services universe more broadly, to what extent has blockchain been rolled out, and what are the next stages in terms of its commercial adoption?
Yeah, so I think that the front runners in this space, if you look at the financial institutions, are now really on a path towards production. And so the phase of proof of concepts is really behind us, and we're piloting things, we're testing things actually with clients, with users, to see if it brings the benefits that that we expect or that we hope for. But there's still definitely some work to be done before you reach that phase. So we like to call them the growing pains of blockchain. It is technology-wise, so if you look at scalability or confidentiality, there's still work to be done. But also on the legal side, you see that in some of the pilots we do, we currently replicate the paper-based processes because the smart contracts still don't hold up in the court case. So you need to overcome them. And for us, that is via testing and experimenting together with users and clients. But there's still, there's still these areas that we need to overcome before you really have things into production.
Ivar, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.